Welcome to Piano Inspires podcast, celebrating pianists, teachers, and innovators as they share their inspiring stories about the transformative power of music.
This podcast episode is sponsored by Piano Marvel.
Increase your students' sight reading ability by up to 300% with the standard assessment of sight reading from Piano Marvel. This one-of-a-kind sight reading tool automatically finds the perfect sight reading selections for every level without searching through piles of sheet music. Take a free Sasser test today at pianomarvel.com.
Thank you to our sponsor, Piano Marvel, and enjoy the episode.
Well, hello. My name is Alejandro Cremaschi. I'm Director for Research Advancement at the Francis Clark Center for Keyboard Pedagogy. And today our guest is Mario Ajero. Dr. Mario Ajero earned his bachelor's and master's degree in music from Temple University in Philadelphia and his PhD in music education with a concentration in piano pedagogy from the University of Oklahoma. He's professor of piano at Stephen F. Austin State University. Dr. Ajero has authored articles for Piano Magazine and American Music Teacher, internationally recognized as an authority in incorporating technology in piano pedagogy and music education. He has presented at every major piano pedagogy conference in the United States and has been invited to perform and present in Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, and Germany. Dr. Ajero was keynote presenter at the Australasian Piano Pedagogy Conference, a featured presenter at the Summer Summit at the Royal Conservatory, and a presenter on technology to teach keyboard remotely for the Peabody Institute at Johns Hopkins University. And I think we shared
that was with you. Yeah,
that's wonderful. So Mario, it's such a pleasure to have you here. We go way back.
Yeah, no, I was like really pleased to see that you were going to be participating in this podcast with me because I remember I don't remember which year. It must have been like either 2003, 2004 that you visited University of Oklahoma.
Right, I think it was 2005.
Oh, 2005. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. Well, maybe not that far back there. Okay,
4 or 5. Yes.
4 or 5 there. Yeah, and then I was just still kind of finding my way as a PhD student there, and I was really enthralled with your enthusiasm and wanting to learn more. About the pedagogy program in University in Oklahoma, and it's been great to follow your success over the years, going from wonderful. Ohio and then to Colorado, where you're at now. So that's
awesome.
Wonderful.
I remember. I think Barbara Fast introduced us, or
yes,
maybe
yes.
Jay McGrath.
Yeah, I think it was probably Barbara Fast or Jay McGraw. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember that one of them said, "Yeah, you have to meet this guy. He's really into technology and thinking."
Sure.
So yeah, it's just amazing, and then we've actually overlapped in so many conferences.
Yeah, I remember I don't know if that was your first conference, but my first MTNA conference that I presented at was in 2006 at Austin, and I remember you were also part of that technology track as well there. So, that was and I'm looking back on where we were there. I think I couldn't even afford to stay at the conference hotel. I think I was at the America's Best Value Inn or something like that there. So
I've done a lot of those myself.
Yeah, you've done that there too. There, yeah. So I've been really fortunate in our, both of us, I think, have been fortunate in our careers that we've been able to make a living for ourselves here, doing what we love, it's been great crossing paths with you and seeing all the successes that you've been having too.
I think it's what you do is so important. I mean, the way I think you make technology less fearful for people. I think that's one of the things that I think everybody knows you as the technology guru, basically because you're such a good communicator. You make them feel like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
And so I think that's wonderful.
That's great to hear. I was kind of reflecting because the title of my presentation was Making Happy Humans Through Engaging Group Piano Experiences. And it wasn't as technology focused as maybe some of my previous presentations have been. I talked a little bit about some of the artificial intelligence auto accompaniment styles that are found on the Yamaha Clavinova CVP pianos that makes students feel like they're making real music right away here, and that was one of the main points of my presentation. But it wasn't as technology focused here in 2024, and it's not that I don't think technology is particularly irrelevant, but I reflect back on all the different topics that I've kind of covered in technology over the years. Now, some of them have kind of not been adopted. Sometimes there are misses and sometimes there are hits. Like I remember one of the two presentations that I gave there. One was on podcasting, ironically. Now we're doing a real podcast here from 2006 now to 24. And the other one was on making DVDs.
Oh my God! Yeah,
and I don't think anyone's making DVDs here in 2024. So you have some of those hits and misses there that you see there. But then I think fast forward to maybe 2012, 2013. There's a group of wonderful piano teachers and who you would call, I would call like real technology gurus as opposed to me here compared to what I do there. But George Litterst, Shanna Kirk, and Stella Sick, we all collaborated on these inspired uses of the iPad. Was I think 2013 or 2012
early
was some of our presentation, and we had the whole room packed of people there. And then now, if you try to do something inspired uses, you don't have to do inspired uses because everyone's using it there. So I guess even though we can't really go into those technology topics like we did 10, 12 years ago here, but I guess it's sort of a testament that people have actually been adopting and using it there and have found practical uses that helps them in not just in their music teaching and their performance, but also in their daily lives as well.
Right. That's wonderful. So tell me a little about your path. How did you tell me about how you approached piano, when you started piano. I know that you grew up in New Jersey.
Yep.
And then went to Temple. But I just want to maybe hear a little bit about your first piano teacher.
Yeah, sure. No, when I grew up in New Jersey, I can't remember the exact year. It was in the early 80s that I started taking piano lessons, maybe around age 7 or 8 years old. And I went to this school in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And their primary instrument that they specialized in was not piano, but it was in accordion.
Wow.
And the accordion was a little bit intimidating to me there. I don't think, well, at least the size that I was back then there, that I could handle such an instrument. But I think I could have handled the piano. In fact, my parents didn't even have a piano at home, but they wanted me to try out piano lessons here. And I'm the youngest of 4 brothers. And none of the other ones really went into music, although my oldest brother, he had tried drums for a little bit, and my third brother played a little guitar, but I was the only one that seemed kind of a little bit more captivated with learning music and playing piano here. So I think when I started in that music school, I think we rented, I don't even know what kind of technology it was. It was some kind of small keyboard, and it was almost looked like it was in a luggage or something like that there. But that was my first instrument there. And then when I showed a little bit of interest in that I wanted to do this not just as for fun, but just wanted to continue on with lessons, then they invested in a Baldwin upright piano there. And I think that, probably little me at the time probably didn't realize it at the time. But I think when you invest in like some kind of significant instrument, or when your parents invest in some kind of significant instrument, that kind of sends a message. This is something that is significant and important, and we think it's something for, that our parents want to prioritize for us there. And I think somehow that kind of like the movie Inception kind of planted some kind of seed in there to me that I think also reflected into the way that I brought up my kids as well here. Wow. So even though my parents weren't musical at all there, my dad had dreams of me playing in the Clyburn competition or going to Juilliard, and that was not in the cards for sure.
Well, I'm sure they're still very proud, or were very proud when were they alive when you got your degree at Oklahoma?
Let me see. My dad passed away. It was in 2006. So yeah, they I was still in that ABD phase there, but my parents had come to my bachelor's, of course, and master's recitals, and I remember the look on my dad's face after my senior recital was, wow, he's actually smiling. I don't know if I've ever seen him that kind of happy there before there. I mean, he even though he was kind of like this really serious person that you didn't really show so much emotion ever in his life there, but when he did show emotion, it was something kind of special there a little bit there. He would always make sure that I was practicing. I kind of dreaded practicing growing up, but he would make it a point there, like after he was an architect in Philadelphia. And after he came home from work, after a long day of work there and eating dinner there, he was like, "Did you practice?" I said, "Yeah, I did there." "Well, let me hear you practice again." So I'm like, I was probably lying too, by the way, that I did practice earlier. I tried to get away with that there, but he knew better and just said, "Oh, let me hear you pray." And he would just sit there. He wouldn't comment he would comment every once in a while. "Oh, you need to play with some more expression," or something like that. There would be like, I'm sorry, that's a terrible Filipino Tagalog accent there, but yeah, that was that. That I reflect on that, and that was pretty significant for me.
Right. So you went to Temple and Oklahoma.
Yeah. No, I mean, at Temple University, I started taking piano lessons with Maria Del Pico Taylor for my undergraduate, and she was also my pedagogy professor, and she was very a lot different. I neglected my pre-college teachers. Vivian Aversa was my very first piano teacher at that accordion school, and she was sweet. I mean, I barely remember her because I think I only took for her for a few months, and I think she had a baby, and then I don't think I ever saw her again after she left there. But then I went through a couple other teachers, and then finally settled on this gentleman named Joe Riccardi, and he was an older gentleman there, and he I reflect on it there a little bit there that he knew about like really good repertoire for me to learn. Maybe some of it was a little bit above my head at the time there, but it felt like, wow, I can play Chopin polonaises and stuff that my dad particularly liked him because he says, "Oh, he's teaching you something that I heard in the Clyburn or something." So that's the extent of his thing there. And I think about that there. Going back to my dad a little bit, that was kind of a lot of my exposure was he would take me down to the basement. This sounds terrible. They're starting it off that way there. But he would take me down to the basement, and then he would play these Van Cliburn vinyl records of all these recordings here, and just I didn't really appreciate it at the time there, but maybe it just planted the seeds for a little bit later on there. But that was Clyburn was inspiring to him, and I think he was living a little bit vicariously through me a little bit there, and that's okay there, in reflection, of course. I went to Temple and studied with Maria Del Pico Taylor. I was introduced to group piano in my pedagogy class by just observing from one of the pedagogy assignments. And most of my other classmates, they were like, "Oh, I just want to go back to the practice room and build up my repertoire. But I thought that was the coolest thing there to, because I had never been exposed to that group piano experience of like seeing a piano lab with multiple students in it there. I was like, oh, wow, you can teach more than one student at a time there. And they seem to be having fun. And I continued to observe, and I think I even volunteered to help out with some of them, even though it wasn't part of the pedagogy coursework. And that opened the doors, I think, for me to get an assistantship for my master's degree. And part of my assistantship was teaching both applied piano and group piano classes for both music majors and non-music majors. And I can't remember what kind of lab that we had there. It was like a Kauai digital piano lab. I think we switched over to one of the Korg group piano systems there. And that was kind of like a little bit of my first introduction on technology to facilitate, learning, particularly getting more students involved in the process. So that was part of that. And then also my applied teacher during my master's degree was Charles Abramovic, who is currently still the head of the piano department there at Temple University. And he's just a phenomenal pianist there. Very inspiring. To be honest, in reflection, I probably wasn't ready to take lessons with him here. And he probably regrets taking me in as a teacher there. I don't think I was like the best student there, but still just being exposed to that level of playing, I think was very inspiring and influential to me.
So what's the route towards technology? What was the first gear that you played with, and what kind of sparked your interest? Maybe Piano Lab technology, or was it computers?
Maybe the Piano Lab technology, but then I remember I think my parents got me a video camera.
Okay.
And I think growing up, even before the videotape cameras, I think, what is it? Those 8mm film cameras. Super 8. That's the one. There. Sorry,
I remember those.
Oh gosh, my brothers and I would make silly videos.
How wonderful!
Or I guess it wasn't even videos. It was like the film with the film projector, the reel to reel, and we would make these and try these special effects of like when it snowed outside. My brother said, "Throw the snowball here," and then I would throw the snowball on camera, and then he would cut there, and then now stand over there, and then get hit by a snowball. So it looked like I was throwing a snowball at myself, and then I hit myself there. And we were just making these like silly effects things just to kind of entertain ourselves or make us feel like filmmakers or something like that there. So yeah, I guess if you want to call that technology, that was that there. So then I guess I continued on with my fascination with cameras. And I recorded some friends' recitals, and they said, "Wow, Mario, you're like you do like a better job of video recording." And it's just, I'm just zooming in and zooming out. I just kind of think about like, well, if I'm watching this, what would I want to see here? And I think that, I think that's like a cool connection of like trying to think from someone's perspective. Like if you're a teacher, you want to think from the student's perspective there. So that process of filming in and trying to think through the eyes of the viewer is something that I think is a really important process. And I think that was influential with me there. So I did a lot of that. And then I got a little bit once we got into digital video. And then I think Apple made it really super duper accessible as far as editing videos with their iMovie. I remember one of your presentations was on iMovie, I think, back in the day there. And I think still people are still using iMovie. And it was just easy to make these videos for both performances, but also your teaching. Can document your teaching.
Right.
to make it really appealing.
So, and one of the things that happened to us a few years ago actually changed the way we look at technology, or at least not us, but a lot of people. COVID. What do you think COVID did for technology and for teaching? Did it change things? Did it open up new worlds? How do you feel about technology now after COVID? Because that's something I wonder myself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it brought out it kind of accelerated some of the processes that would have probably happened over time if that didn't affect the world
Mhm.
in such a global scale here. But yeah, I think it was kind of like a sink or swim type of
Right.
scenario for a lot of teachers. And unfortunately, there were a lot of really great teachers that were really resistant to it there, and probably rightfully so, that they were kind of forced into retirement or give up the profession of teaching and pursue a different life path here. But at the same time, then we had also people who were like, okay, well, I have to do this here, and go back to the tools of that hopefully that they saw from some of our presentations there, that and articles that we had, the content that we had provided, to say, okay, this is how I can stay connected with my students here, and this is what I can do. And at the same time, I think it's just kind of just a natural process, as far as you'll find both positives and negatives from the experience here. And I think coming out of it there, yes, there's people that found new careers or ability to reach people regardless of geographic distances or um, um, health concerns and things like that. But at the same time, we kind of got the sense of what are some of our thresholds of, like, how much screen time is.
Right.
I mean, we probably still haven't really fully delved into what the long-term effects of some of the use of this technology is here, but yeah, I think some of the recent research, as far as like a blended integration of technology and face-to-face interaction, I think people are kind of starting to find some of that happy mediums there that works best for whatever their teaching scenario is.
Right. Yeah, I think it's amazing that thinking pre-COVID, some of your presentations, or the group of NCKP technology track, sometimes we dealt with remote teaching, and that felt so niche at the time. And then suddenly it's everybody's doing this.
Yeah.
And it used to be Skype, then it was Zoom, and how that everybody had to learn, or you said, think on
everyone kept kind of coming to us there, and that that led to the webinar that we did for Peabody, the Peabody Institute, because there was such a like, well, what do I do? Which one works best there? And I think my response to most people, when you were talking about all those different platforms, Skype, FaceTime, or you have to, it's funny how a lot of this ties into just traditional pedagogy, where Francis Clark said, meet students where they are, not where you want them to be there. So whatever the student feels, or student and their parents feel comfortable with there, that's pretty much the way that I went. And, a lot of the students that I was currently teaching in 2020 were affiliated in some way with Stephen F. Austin State University, where I'm currently teaching. And whether they were college students or just like kids of faculty members, we have a site license with Zoom, so that was what everyone was using at the time. And then almost a lot of people were using it, and I wasn't really a big fan of Zoom when I first encountered it in 2018, 2019, but I saw like some of the potential possibilities with how they're trying to adapt their platform to accommodate musicians, and got me to the point of investigating and doing a deeper dive in it a little bit more to see, how can we benefit from this, and we did benefit from it.
Right. And it's interesting that some of these technology platforms actually started listening to musicians as well and adapted their products. The Zoom has these settings that allow you to do, without the noise cancellation.
Yeah.
And, the musician mode.
It got to the point there, like where it was funny how people in our piano world, who I would never, well, prior to 2020, I would have never have thought that they would be adopting like remote teaching, that they're just super duper traditionalists and things like that there. I've told this story in a couple of my presentations already was it 2020? Yeah. 2020 that my son, who's a pianist right now at Oberlin, he was in high school back then in 2020, and he was accepted into the Aspen Music Festival that summer, but then everything that summer shut down there. Right. And but fortunately, when that door closed, there was this festival in Philadelphia, the PYPA, Philadelphia Young Pianist Academy, that opened up, and they were going to try something that I had never seen before, was like a remote festival there where students can apply just like they do in Aspen and other summer music festivals, and then they get to have private lessons or master classes with some esteemed teachers. And I saw the lineup there. There was Gary Graffman, who was 90 something at the time there, Jerome Lowenthal from Juilliard, and who else was there? Ursula Oppens. And so Neo applied for that, and he got accepted there. And then I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to get a chance to do this here. Have a lesson with Gary Graffman and Jerome Lowenthal. So I just, that kind of motivated me to, well, let me see what's the best audio setup there. Cause I'm not really, to be honest here, everyone says I'm technology guru there, but so many people in our community have way surpassed, like my proficiency level on like this podcast here. But I learned enough there to use, technology like this Zoom microphone or audio recorder in order to use that as an external USB microphone for the Steinway piano that we had, and broadcast his performances to these really elite teachers who are really probably the most scrutinizing ears in the world, faithfully there. And I was like really proud of both of his performance, but also that none of them kind of complained that, I can't hear you, or there's anything there. But wow, all right, so this is legit here. So we can if it's good enough for these guys, then I think your everyday teacher should be able to make those kind of compromises there. So,
wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's good. So one of the things that many of us know, not everybody know, is that you have a very successful YouTube channel with 30,000 subscribers. I was checking that last night. That's very impressive. And lots of videos there. I think different types of videos. Some of them are teaching videos, and I think, what's your most popular video there? Can you tell us? I know what it is.
You know what it is there? Oh, gosh. See, most people would be like, okay, well, I probably should, shut this thing down because that's another life, or that's someone might hold that stuff against me down the road there. But I think it's a nice documentation of my kind of journey, even though it's so disorganized, and so just throw stuff up there on the internet type of things there. But the most popular video was from 2006, And that's I appreciate you making me sound like I'm like popular and everything with the 30,000 subscribers. No, it's just that I've been around long enough there that it just like kind of just a little bit by little bit.
I've been since that time. I think I haven't reached 1,000. So you have like 30K.
Oh, that's sweet of you there. So, but the most popular video was the one, and again, it's probably just because it's been around forever. But actually, it did like. Wow, this is what a viral thing looks like there. Right. It was to just play just the couple measures on the piano of how to play on the piano the song "Clocks" by Coldplay.
Right. I think it's so well done. I mean, it's very it has a little bit of humor, and it's a kind of very step by step. So I can see how people really wanted to watch it. I'm sure you taught a lot of people how to play those measures.
No, it was crazy getting the comments of people like, "Wow, you inspired me to go into my attic and pull out my keyboard and try this out there, and it actually works." Right. was what some of them said. I'm like, I never even met you guys there before, but yeah, it's so funny. And I had made that video in a time where I had done all my coursework at University of Oklahoma. I was sending out, hundreds of applications to universities for a faculty job there, and no one was biting there. So it was just because I had a lot of relatively free time. I should have been working more on my dissertation, to be honest there. But yeah, it allowed me to kind of experiment my fascination with, the video camera that I had mentioned earlier, and doing all the quick cuts and things like that. Some of them are kind of cheesy as we saw, but I was experimenting with iMovie. It's funny, like I'm trying to again. It was a lot of it was I'm trying to think from the perspective of what does the viewer want to see here. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes and in the eyes of what the student wants to accomplish or wants to see. And I wanted to do like close-ups of my hands at the piano keyboard. I would put on text there so that they know the fingerings, and have a little bit of the scrolling of the sheet music if they are more attuned to that modality of learning. It's funny, the scrolling sheet music was just me doing a real quick finale little snippet there, and then in iMovie I just did that Ken Burns effect of the things going along, just moving. And I think about like how like ridiculous some of those edits and how long it took to do some of those things just for what was it, a 4-minute video or something like that there. But
yeah, that was visionary. I think a lot, after this was at the beginning of people YouTube, going to YouTube to learn this song, and there's literally hundreds of thousands of videos of this type of videos now, with the synthesia, the descending notes, and I thought that was genius. I mean, you laugh about how crude it was, and it just opened up a whole.
And that's the one thing that was kind of encouraging to me, and I'm glad that there's a lot of more people that are putting that content in. And again, some of it varies in quality and educational value for sure there, but there's a lot of people that are not really willing to step into the piano studio yet. They're not sure, is it right? Is it good for me to take piano lessons there? And I think there's been enough good stories that I've heard of people that we would call self-learners or just kind of hobby students there that just wanted to know, can I really do this here? And that opens the door for them, and hopefully maybe plants that seed there. Wow, I was able to do that through this video. I can either search for more videos, or I could look for a professional piano teacher that can maybe even elevate my playing even more.
Yeah, and at the same time, I think it also influenced the way we do things in group piano, because many of us actually, since the early 2000s, have been creating kind of tutorial videos for our own students, even though they're in classes. And I think that, this was very early on, I feel
Yeah,
like that. So
thanks.
that was wonderful.
Yeah.
We've also, it's so moving to see your channel. We've also seen your kids grow up as musicians. And I was watching Olivia yesterday bubbling, and you kind of putting
the
signs
little.
that was so cute, and it's so moving. It's and they are now music majors, right? Both of them? Or
Just Neo.
Okay.
He's in his second year at Oberlin Conservatory. He's a piano performance major. He's studying with Stanislav Yudenich now, and he really feels like he's in his element as far as piano performance. I mean, it's in some ways intimidating that he's in this studio of like world-class musicians there, but you know, that's the way he's been his whole life, is just kind of go with the flow, and nothing seems to phase him in that regards there. But Olivia is not a music major, but she kind of feels like she is,
right.
in a way, because she's only a ninth grader in high school right now. But she's probably a busier pianist than I am these days. In addition to like some of her solo stuff that she's working on her grade 10 exam for Royal Conservatory. But she's probably more in demand as a collaborative pianist. She filled in for me on church on Sunday while I was here at the conference, and she accompanies the children's choir for our music prep division, and she's also part of a chamber group, the Cato piano trio, with a son of our violin professor and cello professor.
That's quite amazing. And they both grew up with the technology there, and you actually seeing you use it. And,
that's kind of the thing that I documented on my YouTube channel, and that seemed to probably get almost even more views than some of my tutorial videos. Was people who were just kind of fascinated that I kind of use them as kind of like almost a informal case study of them, their progress. And we used a lot of MIDI accompaniments with different method books very early on in the process. We also did a lot of rote learning, which is and stuff that I reflect now is very akin to almost the same approach that we do with recreational music making classes. At the very beginning, because when they're having fun and we don't realize what type of impact that learning is going on at that particular time. But playing along with a lot of those MIDI accompaniments and the technology, you had mentioned Synthesia. We actually use Synthesia not just as like those YouTube videos, but we I connected the Synthesia, I think the iPad app for it there, to our digital pianos, and it actually can assess the accuracy of their performances there. People don't realize the value of of that applications like that one that can kind of, and also instill this sense of like, if you make a mistake, that you just have to keep going the natural flow of a performance. So I think that reflecting back on how much I immersed them in that experience, it made them confident performers, where they were able to, like, as I said, Olivia feels confident as a collaborative pianist, that it's no big deal. Like, sometimes you put pianists with a singer or another instrumentalist, and they're like, whoa,
they freeze.
Yeah. So wait. My part's a little bit harder.
Can we repeat this?
Yeah.
Go back 2 measures. No.
No, you got to keep on going there. And then using a lot of those virtual concerti file, like in Home Concert Extreme, prepared them for concerto performances.
That's so moving. That's wonderful. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, I think we're coming to the end of our time here, but I'm going to ask you a question that we ask all our guests. The website is pianoinspires.com. And so how does piano inspire you?
Oh, piano inspires me in a way that I think just in reflection on the journey that both me and my family have taken on how much it's provided for us, is how much joy that it provides us there. It just inspires me to want to partake and share that joy with with everyone that I encounter with, whether it be in person or online as well. That's one of the cool things about the online teaching that we were talking about before. Even just again, I make light of some of those early YouTube videos that I did, but I feel warm and fuzzy inside there that someone has found some kind of joy in feeling musical and making music, and that's really what inspires me to continue being a teacher, whether it be doing online teaching. Although, to be honest, after 2020, 2021, I think almost everyone kind of like needed to take a little step back,
Right.
a little from it there. I had mentioned in my that I think I experienced some burnout from so many of the Zoom lessons and making so many recording videos there that I kind of went back to almost my group piano roots there, and started teaching more of these recreational music making classes. A lot of it was for my own, I think, personal mental health.
Right.
There was just to just some of the simplest tasks at the piano and bring that joy to our community locally in Nacogdoches, Texas, for both adults and young children, to bring that joy to them. Really re-energized me and inspired me to want to kind of continue on spreading the good word of piano here.
That's wonderful. Well, Mario, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah,
and
thanks.
Thank you so much.
All right, it's been great there. Thank you,
Yeah.
Alejandro.
The Francis Clark Center is a not-for-profit educational organization that serves the advancement of piano teaching, learning, and performing. Divisions include Piano Magazine, Piano Inspires Kids, Journal for Piano Research, National Conference on Keyboard Pedagogy, the New School for Music Study, Piano Education Press, International Online Teacher Education, and Piano Inspires Online Community Hub. Please visit us at pianoinspires.com to learn more about our impactful work and inspiring community.